Hi, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Thanks.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. In the last video we learned how to create a category and subcategory. We were able to add categories and save it in our database. And we also be able to create subcategories and connect them to the category. So each subcategory is belong to a category. So as we can see, we have a street food subcategory and it's belong to category ID number 3. And if we go to the categories table, we can see that our ID 3 is food. Okay, but of course we don't want to check it in our database. We would like to have it on the screen and we would like to display it on the screen. So we will use a Vue.js component to show our categories and subcategories as well. So let's create a new button here. And if we click on it, we get our categories list and the subcategories list as well. And it will be shown by a Vue.js component. So let's just create this button. So we want to go to the resources, views, and home.blade.php, and we want to add a new button here. So let's just copy this to speed this up, and let's call it show categories. And we want to go to the category controller and we want to hit the index method. Okay, so let's just go to this category controller and index method. So we need to go to the app folder, HTTP, and controllers, and category controller, and we want to hit this method. So basically we want to return a view here. And this view is inside our category folder. And we want to return the index file. Let's add semicolon here. Okay, so if we hit this method, we want to return a view. This view is inside the category folder and we want to return the index file. So we want to go to the category, and at the moment we don't have any index file, but we create it now. So let's create a new file inside the category folder and call it index.blade.php. And let's just copy everything from the category, from the create.blade.php. So let's grab everything and paste it here. And of course we don't need the form here because we are listing our categories. So we don't add any new category, we list our categories. So let's call it not dashboard, but let's call it all our categories. And let's keep this back button on the top. So if we check what have we done so far, sure enough we see our show categories button now, and if we click on it, as you can see, we just created this title, all our categories, and if we click on back, we're going back to the main dashboard. So we want to add our category list here as a Vue component. So let's create this component. By default, Laravel comes with a example Vue.js component. So if we going to resources folder and the JS folder, we got a components folder here, and we have this example component.vue. So this is our card which represent an example component, and we register this component inside the app.js. As you can see, we have this view component called example component, and we pull in from components folder example component.view. So if we use this name, and if we go into freshly created index.blade.php, then we should be able to display this example view component in here. So it will be a card, and inside this card we will display this view component, which is basically another card. If we check it, example component.view, it's a container row and it's a card inside it, but we can test this out. So let's see if it works. So go back, hit refresh, and sure enough, we got this, our very first view component. So it's working, but we need to pass our data inside this component, and we need to for each loop our categories. Okay, so let's do that. So basically we don't want this container and stuff like this, because we already inside a card body. So what do we want here? We would like to create a div, and we want to show our categories here, but let's get back to it later on. Before we do it, we need to pass in our data inside to this Vue.js component. So the way we will do it is go to the category controller and grab all our category. So let's create a collection. It's gonna be called categories. We want to grab all the categories from the category table. Get. Okay, so we get all the categories from the category table. So we want to pass this into our view. So we want to show this view with this collection. Okay, so now we are passing in our categories. And just to make sure it works, we go into our index, and just before the view component, we are for each loop our categories as a Laravel way. So for each, the collection name is categories. As category. And let's make it h5, and let's echo out all our category name. So let's save it and see what happens now. Okay, so category not found. Okay, so our class is not found because we are misspelled the category. So let's just go back to the controller and fix this. Okay, it should be okay now. Yeah, sure enough, we have all our categories. Let's make it a bit bigger. So let's make it H4. Okay, so we have our main categories now, but what if we want to display our subcategories? So we would do that in Blade in the following way. So we have this for each loop, and inside this for each loop we would create another for each loop. So the collection would be here, this category, subcategories, as let's just call it subcat or whatever you want. And we would like to display here our subcategory name. Let's save it and see what error we get now. We can't do this for each loop now because we haven't got this category and subcategories yet. So although we created the connection inside the database, we need to tell Laravel that we have this connection between these two tables. So we need to create a relationship between them, and this will be a hasMany and belongsTo relationship, because the category has many subcategories, but the subcategory belongs to only one category. So one category could have more than one subcategories, so it has many subcategories, but the subcategory belongs to a category because it belongs to only one category. So in order to tell this relationship for Laravel, we need to go to inside the app folder. So we are inside the app folder, and you should see category.php. This is our model, and we need to create our relationship here. So we need to create a public function. And let's call it subcategories. Okay, and we need to return this. So we are inside the category model. So category has many subcategories. So let's use this keyword. Has many, and it has many. Okay, so we are referencing now here to the subcategories. So the category has many subcategories, but also we need to create another function inside the subcategory because the subcategories belongs to the category. So we need to create a category public function. And this belongs to category class. Okay, let's save it. And as you can see, it works now. Let's make it like a unordered list. Okay, so we're creating an unordered list here. And inside this unordered list, we are doing this for each subcategories. So instead of p tag, we are using list items. If we save now, hit refresh, it's much more visible. So let's just create one or two more subcategories. Okay, so internet has browsers, for example. Let's create it, and internet could have internet service providers, ISPs, and oops, what did I just do? I just created a main category here. So let's just create one more subcategories, like inside the food. Okay, so as you can see, food has two subcategories now. Okay, let's go back. So it was the normal Laravel way to do this. And now let's create a Vue.js way. Okay, so in order to get access to these categories inside our component, we need to give a property here. So we want to pass in categories. And this category should be this categories collection. And if we pass it in now, let's just jump to Chrome. Let's log in. Okay, so we are logged in. So I'm using Chrome now because if you check, we have this Chrome extension called ViewDevTools. And if we go inside this show categories, you can see down here, if you press F12, if you already installed this ViewDevTools, then the last tab is called View, and if you click on it, you can see we have the root Vue.js, Vue app, and we have this example component here, which is contain nothing at the moment. But as you can see, we passed in the attributes called categories, which is an array. And if you click on it, you can see what has been passed in. So this should be the food, and the food has already the subcategories, two subcategories. One of them is the street food, and the second one is the fine food as well. So we can access everything inside our Vue.js component. So let's just create our Vue.js component now. Okay, so inside this div, we want h4s, and inside this h4s, we would like to display our main category names. So let's just use Vue.js v4, and inside this v4, we are looping to our categories in this categories. And at the moment it wouldn't work if I save it. So we still can't see anything, and probably we have an error as well in a console. So let's just refresh Chrome and let's see the error. So the categories is not defined in the instance, and this because it's not enough just pass it in. We need to grab it inside the Vue.js application. So we need to create like props, and inside these props we can grab the categories now. And sorry, it should be inside this export default. So it should be here. Okay, let's save it and see if it's working now. Okay, so we don't have any errors now, but we can't see anything yet. Of course, we need to echo the category name. So similarly to the blade template, we use these curly brackets, and inside that curly brackets we use this category, and we use dot because we're using Vue.js, and property we want to access is a category name. And if we save it now, it should be display our categories. Sure enough, we are displaying now. So we would like to access to our subcategories as well, similarly to the blade. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to create one more div here. And inside this div, we copy this v4. And we want to display the category name, because we need to be inside this v4 tag, just like we need to be inside this for each loop to for each loop our subcategories as well. So we want to create another for each inside this category for each, and this will be our unordered list and list item, and v4 we want to create a subcategory. Let's just use subcat in category, so this category dot subcategory. Okay, so if the category has subcategories, then we want to loop through them. So if the category has subcategories, then we want to loop through and name it as subcat and display it the name of the subcat. So we need to use this curly braces again and display the name. So subcat dot okay, let's save it. Hit refresh, and sure enough we get exactly the same, but this is from Vue.js. Okay, so it's more separated. You can see this is the Vue.js and this is the Laravel blade. Okay, so that's how we can create a Vue.js component, and of course we would name it something like, actually we don't need this mounted. So that's how we pass in variables inside the Vue.js, and that's how we loop through. We need this dot category, so this is referring to this props. And of course we would name it something like show categories component. or show category. And if we have this show category component.view, then we need to change it inside the app.js. So instead of example, we want the show category, and we want to change it here as well. Show category. And of course we need to change it inside the view as well. So show category. So this is more readable what we are doing here. So this is the blade style, and this is the Vue.js style. Hit refresh, it still works. And if you check this ViewDevTool, hit refresh. If you go to the View tab, as you can see, we have the show category component here now, and you can see the props here. Okay, in the next video we will create our submit your domain form. We will use Vue.js to create that form. So we will use Axios to make that post request to the server, and we will learn how to save images by Vue.js and how we pass the data to the Laravel backend from a Vue.js form. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button if you liked it. Thanks. Bye.